Welcome to Fight News Now Extra. It's John Pollock with you, and we've got all of today's news as we head into the weekend. John Ramdian and Robin Black will be joining me as we discuss more fighter reaction to the Nick Diaz suspension as that story continues to play out. A strawweight bout has been booked for December in Las Vegas, and we have the latest regarding the legal options for Jon Jones. Mark Ramundi at MMAfighting.com has obtained documents from the 2nd Judicial District Court in Bernalillo County, New Mexico, regarding the Jon Jones case. The case missed the deadline to move to the grand jury phase as of a week ago, with the latest development being the transfer of the case from the Metropolitan Court in Albuquerque over to the Judicial District Court on the stipulation that the parties go into an entry for a pre-indictment plea. The next step will be seeing if Jon Jones and his team pursue a plea deal for his felony hit-and-run charges stemming from the incident this past April. Fresh off the signing of a new UFC contract, Paige VanZant will get her first main event in the organization as she will meet Joanne Calderwood on Thursday, December the 10th in Las Vegas at the Chelsea at the Cosmopolitan Hotel. VanZant debuted for the UFC last November and strung together 3 victories thus far, while Calderwood had a major setback, losing to Marina Moroz this past April and then rebounded in July with a win over Courtney Casey. The December 10th card will be the first of 3 straight nights of UFC cards in the city of Las Vegas this December, culminating with UFC 194. The Nick Diaz case has spurred on a wave of reaction from the fight community, with UFC VP of Athlete Development and Government Relations Matt Hughes sharing his opinion that the suspension was excessive, but also stated that Diaz acted, quote, like a punk in front of the commission. But it's encouraging Diaz to appeal. UFC fighter Matt Mitrione did not take kindly to how a UFC VP described Diaz as the two went back and forth, and Mitrione maintaining that Hughes should be representing the fighters and not characterizing them as he did with his description online. Next Saturday night, September the 26th, we are live at 7 p.m. Eastern Time for a 1-hour pre-fight show, previewing all of the fights from Japan and presenting the 4 undercard fights exclusively in Canada at 8 Eastern on Saturday night. Here they are, John Ramdian and Robin Black stopping by the desk. In terms of the Jon Jones case, there isn't a whole lot to say other than the case is ongoing. My prediction, I'm just going to throw this one out there, that I feel we'll probably get a plea bargain, and that exact same day, some other announcement regarding Jon Jones' fighting future is going to be made so we can quickly divert the attention and move away from this case. That is my expectation of how this all ends.
Yeah, and I think that makes the most sense. If you're, a part of the Jon Jones team, you definitely want to do that. You want the heat off this entire situation and to focus on the fact that maybe the best fighter in the history of mixed martial arts will get back inside of the cage. So you want to, kind of erase the memory of the past and just look to the future.
Any hesitation on the UFC side to go and promote a fight with him so quickly once this case is finished?
I don't think they care, and I don't think I care, to be honest. I mean, in the sense of what do celebrities do when they get in trouble, what happens with their court cases, this is very interesting if that's your thing. For me, this is the best fighter in the world. I want to know that he is healthy and that he has solved whatever personal drug problems, whatever he had, because you don't want to see great athletes perform not at their best. But if the guy's at his best, go back. If you like to go back and watch old fights, watch some Jon Jones fights over the last 5 years. Go watch the guy figure out Teixeira on the inside. Watch what that guy did to Lyoto Machida, go back and see it. If
Cormier
you like,
as well.
you like the elite of the elite in fighting, this is your guy. Do I care personally if, a guy gets in trouble and is being promoted? I mean, it's 2015, man. I mean, does anybody?
Yeah. I think we've learned that with a number of elite level fighters or just athletes in general, that there's a way to view them with one lens, which is just simply as an athlete, and there's no disputing where Jon Jones ranks as, to me, easily the top light heavyweight that the UFC has ever seen. But there is also the personal side, which has been a mess over the last number of years.
Yeah, and you know what? The reality is it's not just Jon Jones. You look at most people's lives. They don't have everything in order. So Jon Jones just happens to be under the microscope because he's a high-profile athlete. I think if you objectively look at the scenario and kind of take Jon Jones, the 205-pound champion or former 205-pound champion, out of the equation and just apply it to you, me, or Robin, I think people say, you know what, people make mistakes. They're allowed a second chance.
And our culture has changed. There's going to be individuals, person A or person X, that will disagree with some of these things. But when you look at the culture, what we look at, you beat a woman, man, we're not cool with that. You hurt a kid, man, nobody's going to be okay with that. That Vic guy, he hurt animals. We don't like that. We never forgive you for those things. But the rest of the stuff, we start looking at it as a culture and go, these are just people. I mean, if anything, we should have lower expectations of people that have been, treated like celebrities and got to do whatever they want over their lives. I mean, why would anybody expect Michael or Bieber, whatever the kid's name is, Justin Bieber, to behave like an adult? He's been treated like a king from the time he was 12.
I would contradict some of that, Robin. In the case of Michael Vick, he was welcomed back into the NFL. Floyd Mayweather Jr., I mean, that guy is a god to some people, regardless of outside the ring transgressions. I think that this is a ridiculously forgiving society.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but Floyd Mayweather Jr., the people that marvel at Floyd, they marvel at his boxing abilities. I think the casual fans...
I think a lot of people subscribe to the lifestyle that this guy, not the domestic violence side, but the glorification that every Showtime countdown show is based around. That this is a guy that lives large, and he is what people aspire to be. Negatives be damned.
But I understand what Robin's saying. You look at Robert Downey Jr., for example. There was a time where he spiraled out of control, and look what's happened after he got his act together. He's in some of the biggest movies in the last decade.
But Pollock dropping some truth that's actually making me a little depressed before the weekend. I was thinking that we didn't forgive some of these things, but apparently we do. Let's get back to talking about how good John Jones is so I can have a better weekend.
Let's reel it in here on the fighting sense. December the 10th, that is going to be the UFC's first of 3 straight nights in Las Vegas. They've announced now a main event for that first Thursday show on Fight Pass. Paige Van Zandt taking on Joanne Calderwood. Paige Van Zandt's first main event in the UFC. This is a Fight Pass card, so let's look at the kind of tiered system here. It's not like she's headlining a pay-per-view, but I believe there are people that believe she's 2-3 years away from a title fight. I don't see how that's possible. Yeah. I think that this woman, especially if she beats Joanne Calderwood, she's on that fast track, and I think that is certainly a concern when you look at the discrepancy between so many of the strawweights and a Joanna Jędrzejczyk at the top of that division.
Very true, but you also look at it's similar to Henry Cejudo in the sense that Demetrius Johnson has cleared out the 125-pound division, and people think that Cejudo could be the guy in line, and he's like, I'm just not ready yet for a crack at the champion or the UFC 125-pound championship. It comes down to Paige Van Zandt to say, you know what, I'm ready for that title, or to say, you know what, I can lose now and I get that crack at the title again down the road.
All right.
She's a tough chick with a good mind, though.
Enjoy all of the fights this weekend. Bellator presents Dynamite on Saturday night, and we'll be back next week with more Fight News Now Extra.